approached Lifewave exactly the same way, that here we have a new technology. Back then, in the early 2000s, scientifically, in the scientific community, phototherapy was still considered snake oil in the general public domain. This is despite the fact that DARPA, which is the research arm of the Department of Defense, was investing, well over $10 million into one researcher that was developing ways to use light to trigger regenerative effects. But out in the public domain, light therapy was not looked upon favorably. It really wasn't until maybe 2008, 2010 that the exact mechanism of phototherapy was understood. And now it's, of course, scientifically validated and accepted. But, to your point, this was new technology back in 2002 when I started the company. So that meant we needed to have independent clinical studies to validate that this is real and there's effects that are going on. And, we started doing clinical studies and we just never stopped. I think we're close to 90 clinical studies today. And this is because each time we do a clinical study, not only do we substantiate and validate the effects and the claims that we have for our products, but we also learn something, and that allows us to develop new products that we can put into our pipeline and extend the opportunity for our members. The other point about the patents are extraordinarily expensive. Research is expensive. Just in the development of X39, we spent over $4 million in 10 years. So that was more than any single product, obviously. But just in the field of regenerative medicine, we have over 70 patents. So this is an enormous amount of money, but our philosophy is that we want to be exclusive. We want to own our technology, being able to offer it exclusively to our members, our distributors. And so now we have a global opportunity that nobody else can touch. So this is all part of the package, right? We have new tech, very effective, patented, exclusive, and that protects our distributors' opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And it's refreshing. It's so refreshing to not have to reference something that you may or may not feel the effects of, right? Or to talk about ingredients or to talk about absorption rates. And there's a lot of incredible products that were brought to market because of network marketing. They've changed my life and they've really shaped my life in the way that it's at. And so I don't mean to demean it in any way, but one of the challenges when we get into representing a product and having an opportunity to represent this technology is we don't have to get into the education business. We can really get into the showing, the show and tell aspect of it. So, David, I really would love to jump into and talk a little bit about stem cell and X39, because that's really, a little over 60% of our cells comes from that single patch. And so you talked about 10 years of research, and there's probably more that goes into it, but specifically 10 years on X39 and stem cell. Walk us through, first of all, if we were riding in an elevator, what would be that elevator pitch on X39, and then maybe go into it broader if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, an elevator pitch, since most people know what stem cells are today, if I got into a conversation with someone on an elevator or a plane, as would be the case, I might say something along the lines of, I work for a company and we have a new technology that activates the stem cells in the body with light. And, this is the effects that it creates. So, in this journey, when we started out, it was based on a very, very simple concept. And that was everybody in the industry, now this would be big pharma, right? And big medical device companies. What they're trying to do is inject stem cells into the body, and that's not going to come as a surprise to anybody. And so the way that they do that from one company to another is really going to vary. So in other words, some people are trying to clone or cultivate umbilical cord stem cells. Other people are harvesting stem cells from the body. You can administer a drug, and this will cause the stem cells in the bone marrow to come out in the blood. They can be filtered and then collected and re-injected. So there's all of these invasive methods that are being developed. And without question, it's only a matter of time before stem cells become a normal, regular part of life, meaning that 10 or 20 years in the future, you'll go to your doctor and get an injection of stem cells and no big deal. A person will be in a car accident, let's say, they go to an emergency room, they'll get an injection of stem cells to start facilitating the healing process, maybe stop internal bleeding, etc. But that day is not here today, and the reason is because most governments have not approved stem cell therapies, the really advanced treatments. Stem cell therapies are expensive, and the injections don't always work, and they come with risks. Sometimes stem cells will attack healthy tissue. So backing up a second, what are stem cells? Well, stem cells are universal cells, right? We all have stem cells in our body, and you can think of this as a universal cell that will divide, differentiate, and eventually become specialized tissue like heart cells, liver cells, kidney cells, and so forth. And the problem is that stem cells age with the rest of the body. So the idea that I had was very simple. Instead of injecting stem cells, what if we could take the stem cells that were already in the body and get them to function like younger, healthier cells? If we could figure out a way to do that, then it would have enormous benefits. First thing is that it would be incredibly safe because we're working with your own stem cells. It would be very effective because the stem cells that are in your body already know what to do. You don't have to tell them what to do. And it would be very affordable. We wouldn't have to rely on cultivating stem cells. So at first, we did this research using electromagnetic fields, scalar waves, and combinations of the two, and we got quite a few patents on those techniques, and most of those techniques were extraordinarily successful, but also very, very expensive. So ultimately, the way that we ended up with X39 was that this was a very, very simple way and cost-effective way that we could bring stem cell technology to everybody. And, the results have really been extraordinary.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I said, I'm coming off of a high, coming home from Branson this past weekend. Most of the people that had been in that room had been on or associated with the product for less than 60 days. But 100% of the people stood up when asked for if they had a product experience, and then we started going into the testimonials. But the most riveting moment, and I really want you to talk about this, and I'll ask it, then I'll say the story really quickly, is the how soon should somebody see the effects of X39? So we had a gentleman. There was two gentlemen. One was already a Lifewave distributor, and they were over-the-road truckers, and they heard about our message and took about a 200-mile detour to come to that meeting, okay? Because he had been telling his partner about these patches. Well, he never sampled or shared a patch with his partner driver. They show up at the meeting. We did an opportunity meeting on Thursday night. We asked anyone in the room that hadn't tried the patches. There was like 4 or 5 people. So there was a doctor there, Dr. Ralph, and he brings picks this truck driver, comes up, says, okay, are you suffering from anything? He's like, yeah, I have nerve damage in my neck. So he's like, okay, and he's just sitting there, and he's like, do I have permission to patch you? And the truck driver was like, yeah, sure. So Dr. Ralph, he's like, okay, let's see your range of motion, and he turns his neck, and he kind of turns his body when he turns his neck, and he says, no, I want you to leave your body here and turn your neck as far as you could, and he had very little range in his neck.